Um, so do you have any plans do you have a cat, by the way? Just curious.
I don't.
I don't
I'm
either.
allergic to
No.
cats.
Are you? Okay.
Yes. So, and
Mhm.
I have read that raw fed cats are, put off the different dander and you are less likely to be
Mm.
allergic. But
Yeah.
to be honest with you,
Mm.
I don't know if I speak cat.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah,
definitely speak
definitely.
dog.
Yeah, for sure. I used to always have cats and then just got totally into dogs. Right now we're dogless because we lost Troy in this past January.
Oh,
So we're taking a little break and
yes. I'm
um
sorry. Yes.
that's all right. We're probably in the next, I'd say by the end of this month, we're gonna go hit the shelters
Hmm.
and see who's been there the longest, who's been returned most frequently. They have
Yeah.
to be dog friendly though, because I have dealt with the inter-dog aggression personally that I don't want to visit that again if I don't have to. It was with small dogs and also
Very
life
stressful.
circumstances very much. Yeah, and people don't realize how much our behaviors and our living circumstances, whatever may happen, is going to affect the dog, which is also why I kind of like that you're doing that fitness. And I brought up like a therapy dog and a service dog, but all that kind of stuff also prepares what I call future proofing your puppy for their future because you don't know what's going to happen in your life. You don't know where the road is going to lead you, and it's just whatever we can do when they're little, when they're real little, when they're
Absolutely.
in that critical period is so important. But yeah.
So do you want to know, since you mentioned how much they pick up on our living environment and on
Mhm.
us and our energy, do you want to hear an
Yeah,
interesting
I do.
um so since I've had Bo back
Mm,
without Bob,
yeah.
people that have come to the house that knew Bo when we were all together,
Mhm.
they have all said to me, he's a different dog.
Mhm.
So without Bob's anxious energy, and this is nothing against Bob. Bob's a lovely human being
No,
and
it's
but
yeah.
he was very high anxiety, very
Mhm.
OCD, very, high drive. I'm high
Mhm.
drive too, but and Bo walked in this house after a year and a half of never being here, didn't miss a beat, and he is so much calmer.
Yeah.
And he's just different.
Yeah. It is so true. And it could be anything. It could be like any dog. They do react differently and behave differently around different people.
Uh,
Not just because we're different, but like our dog Troy was completely different. Like you don't even have to time it. Soon as Tammy would walk in the door, different dog, different dog. I met Tammy when he was like 3, maybe 2 or 3. And, so all those windows closed and all that stuff and, but, it was just and she is like, "It's okay, just give him another cookie. I don't
oh,
whatever, it's fine, like, come on, why can't they have that?" I'm like, "No, they can't have that," and she's like, "You have all these rules," and I said, "I do have rules, because it's important, but
it is.
um, it's so important for their mental health and stability and and well-being overall, but again also for their future so that you
Mhm.
can take them anywhere. Us here living in Florida and now most of the US because of climate change, we've got unpredictability with the weather. you
Yeah.
know might have to leave even if you don't have to go into a shelter. What if you have to leave and just go on the road? Do you want your dog to be able to eat every time, anywhere, anytime, or does it have to go to this anal retentive schedule?
Uh-huh.
'Cause that schedule is gonna screw you over, I'm gonna
Uh-huh.
tell you every time,
Uh-huh.
just little things like that. But yeah, it's so interesting, even when I watched Troy, and Bella first time Tammy went away, I'm like, he's completely different.
Uh-huh.
It's amazing. I'm like, "See?" And I'd be like, "It's you. It is
Uh-huh.
you. It
Uh-huh.
is so you." But yeah, it's not to blame that other person, but it's like how dogs relate to us and how in tune they are with our behavior and our anxiety or anger or whatever, or dysfunction or whatever you wanna call it, or joy,
Mhm. Mhm.
they're
Mhm.
totally picking up on that.
Mhm.
Yeah. How did that strike you when you that was reflected back to you by your
Well,
friends?
the funny thing is it took someone else saying to me, "Tony, Bo is different." And I
Mhm.
was like, "You think?" And then I guess I just kind of started to notice, but it didn't dawn on me immediately. It was
Mm.
more other people saying to me, and he seems happy."
Yeah.
Like they've all said he just seems like a happier dog. And that's even probably I feel badly saying. But and Bob and Bo were like Bo would gaze up at Bob like with those eyes,
Mhm.
like I love you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And they would
You
love to.
worship them.
We used to take Bo hiking and
Mhm.
um but yeah,
Yeah.
it's different. And that, I'm sure you've heard this, but they say that that leash is like an electrical cord.
Yep. We say that, all the trainers say that, well, like,
Yeah,
they're feeling everything. When you tighten up and you're scared,
yeah,
boom, it sends that energy right down the
yep,
leash to them, and they're like, "Oh shit, what's going on? So
yep,
I'm supposed to be afraid now, okay, okay."
yep. And that's where leash aggression starts.
Yeah, you get that reactivity
Yeah,
happening.
yeah,
Also, a lot of lack of socialization at the beginning, but
yeah,
it can perpetuate that, and it'd be so much harder. It's so much harder to can't get it out of them at that particular point, but you can manage the hell out of it and turn your dog into a much more well-adjusted dog.
yep.
Talking about the holistic pet wellness and stuff, I always ask everybody this who's into holistic pet stuff. How do you feel about CBD treats, CBD tinctures, oils, that type of thing? What do you
Yeah.
feel about that? And let's talk
So,
about that.
when it first came, so I've been in the industry long enough that I
Mhm.
remember going to the trade shows and there were zero booths for CBD, but there were people at other people's booths talking about CBD. So they
Nice.
kind of were on the down low because
Uh-huh.
they were afraid to talk about it.
Mhm.
So I was very on guard in the beginning because I wanted the research. I didn't doubt that it was something that could be used.
Mhm.
It's a medicine, it's a plant.
Right.
That's how I look at it. Same for
Sure.
humans.
Mhm.
But it was so new that I was just very careful in the beginning.
Mhm.
Fortunately, had someone working for me that was a super nerd as far as doing research and really
Mhm.
getting down to the nitty gritty. And our
Mhm.
first brand that we carried was Pet Relief,
Mhm.
which is still, very effective and a good brand.
Mhm.
But um, I do like CBD
Mhm.
for multiple different reasons. My number one brand, I still sell Pet Relief, but my number one brand now is CBD Dog Health,
Mhm.
Angela Ardolino's brand. And Bo, this is where, so Bo gets ease, the concentrated ease, which is the arthritis one. He gets a
Okay.
full dropper twice a day. And but he also gets joint support. So when it comes to arthritis and joints,
Mhm.
I don't recommend going straight to CBD first. I
Mhm.
recommend you've got to support the joints.
Right.
Yes, CBD helps, but it just is reducing inflammation for the most part.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you've got to introduce a good joint support first.
Mhm.
See how far you get with that.
Mhm.
And then if you need CBD later, incorporate CBD later.
Right. Right. That makes sense. That makes sense. Also, it's better so that you can see what's gonna work and not work, and do you even
Yes.
need to add it type of thing. Um,
Yes.
yeah, I use, I've used it with our dogs too, mostly for just to chill them out,
Mhm.
and then
Yes.
Bella, she had cancer. So we started giving her that along with her other regimen that was going on, um, but I just wanted to give her that extra support,
Absolutely.
extra pain relief, type of thing. But it worked well with Troy. Troy was like he would have been the best like search and rescue dog. I mean, just amazing. So he was on all the time. He was boxer beagle mix. So he was big like the boxer, but like the nose of the beagle was
Oh,
there,
yeah.
so he was always on, and sometimes he was too on, so it was like, "Okay, we're gonna just chill out a little bit because 'cause you're driving little mama insane because
Ah.
you're all like, "I can't, today you need a little bit of this." Usually it was like, around just extra busy time in the house or whatever, but it was really nice for that, and it's like I didn't have to reach for a pharmaceutical for that
Yes.
particular thing, even though he
Yes.
did need pharmaceuticals at other points, but that was Troy, he was a special boy.
I mean,
Um,
some dogs are put on Prozac, you hear now.
well, yeah, and,
Is
there are certain cases where it's like, "All right,
we've tried
first of all,
everything.
there are so many better drugs out there, and the thing about the, pharmaceuticals for dogs, and especially when we're talking about or all the animals behaviorally, we're talking about aggression or anxiety, is like, don't go to your regular vet, go to a veterinary behaviorist. They're gonna cost a little bit more, but they have the expertise and they have the knowledge of the behavior and the pharmaceutical, whereas our veterinarians, and I mean, my vet will be the first one to tell you, he's like, "I don't know crap about nutrition because we don't spend a lot of time on nutrition in vet
Right,
school." And
right.
I didn't specialize in that, and forget about behavior, yeah, I'll prescribe X, Y, and Z, but it's like go to this veterinary behaviorist so that we can get the proper diagnosis. I'll do all the medical screening, but let's do that. Instead, a lot of people will go to their standard vet and just say, "Hey, they're da da da." It's not enough, and it's also not enough just to do pharmaceuticals. You have to do behavioral at the
Mhm,
same time.
mhm,
It's not enough.
mhm.
Either way.
And do you find that, if it's a dog that has to do the pharmaceuticals, if you work on the behavioral while they're on that medication, they can be weaned off of it sometimes,
Yeah, oh, yeah, some dogs
right?
can be, for sure, yeah.
Yeah,
Because, like I said before, it's like they have a critical period of socialization when they're puppies. And when that window is closed, good, bad, or indifferent, whatever they're exposed to, is kind of what you see is what you get. Now, we can manage these behaviors. And some dogs, in order for them to be able to be calmer and to be able to learn, and let's get their anxiety down, maybe we need a pharmaceutical.
yeah.
But I'm also going to send you to your vet to get every blood test, every thyroid, full expanded out thyroid test, the whole 9. Let's do that, let's start there. What are they eating? Oh my god, no, they're just no. Let's do this. What can you
So
do? What can you afford,
I think a lot of people don't realize thyroid can affect behavior, right? Which is
100%.
what,
Mhm.
yeah, which is why you want that full thyroid panel done.
Mhm. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
That's right. And there's a lot of research on it, medical research out there for people to know about. And I also think I just did an interview with somebody who wasn't even aware that her dog was really presenting with the symptoms of hypothyroid,
Yeah.
and, people were watching her videos and they're like, "I think Hunk is, hi, Hunk."
Oh,
He's sweet. "I think maybe he's hypothyroid." And I was like, "Oh my god, I was gonna tell you that." I'm so glad other people got to you first because
yeah.
he was kind of presenting that look. And her other vets weren't doing those tests. So I think as a baseline, it's important for us as pet owners to do, when they're not sick. Let's have a
Mhm.
baseline of their blood work, including that thyroid test, you know?
I agree.
So important. Yeah,
I
it's
agree.
just so important. But yeah, it does help to have them, um, just maybe not so whacked out, for lack of a better term, like stressed out or very reactive with training. But I also like people to start in just small increments of behavior change. You don't have to, you're not going to fix it. We're going to manage it and we're going to take it piece by piece by piece.
It's a journey.
Period. It is a journey,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
people who really do the work with me are like, "Oh, okay, wow, now we are able to do X, Y, and Z with our
Yeah,
dog," you
yeah.
know? No,
And
you didn't.
food is a big part of that, because if they are feeding a
Huge.
food that is a huge carb load, or God forbid has sugar in it,
Mhm.
or any of the dyes still,
Yeah,
no different than kids, that creates hyperactivity.
right.
It's not
Exactly.
rocket science, right? It's
No,
not.
no, it's not. It's not. But people have been fed these lies for so many
Yes.
years. And and it's not conspiracy, it's true. There
Mhm.
are euthanized pets in most
There
of the
is.
dog foods that are out there. It just is the fact of the fact. Should you, get all the vaccines at the same time? No, if you can control it and work with a vet that will space them out and then do titers later on
Yes.
in their life.
Yes.
There's so many different variables, out there. You have to really do your homework for
So
sure.
many variables.
Mhm.
And to give you a short little tighter story, Layla had her rabies vaccine at 6 months. Is that the normal?
Mhm.
I don't even know
Yeah,
what
I
the
think
normal
that's
protocol is, but
normal, yeah.
I did give her the rabies vaccine at 6 months, and then
Mhm,
I titered her when she turned a year.
mhm.
And she passed.
Yeah,
Okay.
still protected.
So, and she is a Great Dane that gets the Great Dane dose,
Yes.
and all dogs get a Great Dane dose.
Yeah, they all get the same dose.
So
They all get the same
imagine,
dose.
right?
Yeah.
Imagine what a 10-pound dog's titer number is, probably off the charts,
Mhm.
with getting the
Yeah.
same dose that Layla got.
My Jack Russells, I adopted them from other people who couldn't handle them. I wonder why. That was my dog aggression issues from those guys. But it was like, you know, I didn't do any, they came with what they came with. I got them as pups. Um, and at different times, of course. But yeah, it was like, no, we're not doing anymore. And my vet is like, that's cool. We have to write the paperwork
Right,
for the county. The
right.
only vaccine that's required by law is the rabies vaccine. I don't know
Yep.
how it is up in
Same,
Pennsylvania, but I think it's
same.
the same everywhere. Um, and there's too many vaccines that are being given out of fear. Also, I just had a conversation with one of my clients who's getting another puppy. She's on the Gulf Coast, and she is um, getting a puppy, I think around 12 weeks old, which I love.
Yeah.
Actually, the breeder's good breeder. And she's like, we go to the same vet. She's like, he's not gonna, he doesn't want to do this. He doesn't do this one anymore, and he doesn't do that one. And I'm like, okay, let's find a puppy class, all right, for you, one of my colleagues or whatever. I know somebody, la la la. They all want all this other stuff, and I'm like, oh my god. And I'm like, I'm gonna be getting a puppy soon myself. So I'm like, I want to take a puppy to one of the classes, around here. PetSmart and Petco, we're talking about competing with the box stores, okay?
Mhm.
They do not require everything. They require a
Oh,
distemper,
uh-huh,
a hepatitis, a parvo, and a parainfluenza. And when they're 6 months of age, um, of rabies.
uh-huh.
And that's it. And they both start at training at 8 weeks of age, which is yes, because that's when you have to start.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Well, Susie, looks like you and I in different parts of the state are gonna be going to Petco or PetSmart
Wow.
with our puppies," because I can't even tell you, I didn't, and even if I was still had my shop, I still wouldn't recommend Bordetella.
No.
No. Why? You're coming in my s No. Flu, the newest flu, no. Canine flu, no. And there was another one, I can't remember what the other one was, but I'm like, "No." I said, "And let me just tell you that I called the county." This is back in 2000, 2001. I was like, "Do you guys give the Bordetella shot or a vaccine?" And they're like, "No, we can't because every time we did, we'd have to shut down the kennel because everybody would get kennel cough." And I'm like,
Yes.
"Exactly. Thank you."
Yes.
So I would have to tell people, you want to come to daycare, you want to come to training, and you thinking you're getting that vaccine, fine, go get it. I don't think you should get it at all. I'm not requiring it, but you now
Mhm.
have to stay out of my facility for 2 weeks because inevitably, the couple times that I had a little outbreak, guess what? I traced it back to somebody who got it and
Wow.
didn't tell me, you know? My
Wow.
dogs never got it. My 2 dogs were in the daycare every single day with me. They were never vaccinated for any of that. As a matter of fact, tell Lou I found her on
Wow.
the street. I
I
didn't give her anything.
I love that you reversed that. Anybody that
Yeah,
has been vaccinated for kennel cough, which is a live vaccine, it
you can't
literally gets
come.
you can't
Yeah,
come. I love
right.
that. That
Yeah,
is epic.
because I'm like, that is money out of my pocket, but if you get other dogs sick,
Yeah.
that's more money out of my pocket if you wanna think of it from a business standpoint, because that's how my brain works, but it's also, you're just creating a whole bunch of shit problems for everybody and problems for your dog. You don't have to do it. You're poisoning your dog with something that's not necessary.
Yep.
But people still are like, no, they got to get this and this and this. And there are plenty of vets out there. Boom, 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 boom. Same thing.
Yep.
So that's
Yep.
why I think it's so important to tell people and that they really need to do a lot of research on their veterinarians and across the board. And it's worth taking the time. We have all the knowledge now online. Do your research with people who are really, professionals, not just somebody's opinion, you know,
Mhm.
to find that out. You need that working relationship with your vet. You have to.
You do. You
Yeah.
do. And I go to a conventional vet because
Yeah.
we have a couple of holistic ones around, but they're not super convenient. And I do my own thing anyways. You know what I mean? I just
Right.
go in
Yeah.
for blood work. And but I
Mhm.
said to my conventional vet, I'm like, hey, would you consider doing titers? And
Right.
I took her in the paperwork. I can link you the website.
Would
Um,
love that.
but I took her the paperwork in that easily, like in 5 minutes, she was set up with Kansas State University
Mhm.
to run titers directly through them.
Yep.
She handed it over to her tech. 5 minutes later, she's like, "Okay, we're good. We're set up." I handed her the instructions on how to do it. Fortunately,
Yep.
she's open minded enough to say, "Sure, yes, I will meet you
Yes.
where you're at."
Yes.
And
Exactly. That's the kind
so,
of veterinarian you need. When you come to them with something, they're like, "Hey, okay, let's look at this." And they take that time, and it also kinda helps them in their business too, because now they just learned something new, and they
right,
can help their other clients as well.
right. And
You
she
know,
said,
the
"Tony, I tell people about you all the time and how you're doing this."
Yeah.
So,
Um, the other woman that I was talking about that, didn't realize that her one guy had, hypothyroid, she changed vets because of it, because she
yeah,
was like, "I'm doing all this other stuff
yeah.
for him," and they're like, "Yeah, absolutely. We're definitely gonna run that test on
Yeah,
him."
yeah, and
Um,
I really believe I don't have any scientific this is my own thing. I really believe
mhm.
those vaccines shut that thyroid down.
I mean, there is such a huge possibility,
Yeah,
they're causing all these
there's
other problems
yeah, yeah.
in our pets, the over vaccinating is just it's enough. It's just
It's a
yeah,
it's enough,
mhm,
and we're their advocates. They can't
right,
talk, and
right,
we have to start talking more. More of us have to start
exactly.
talking more and standing up for what's right.
Yeah, and you're the client, you're paying that bill, and if you don't feel right about it, then either A, don't go back, but also, try and do as much, and I say this for myself too, as much research as you possibly can
Uh-huh.
on that vet. Um, I take the 3-hour trip back to the Gulf Coast
Mhm.
because I'm like, Dr. Masters is it. He's conventional, but he's an expert, and I'm like, "Why doesn't I'm like, "Oh my god, why doesn't everybody follow your protocols?" Even for
And
euthanasia.
I hear so often that people are shamed for, having
Oh, yeah.
adversity to, questioning, why this food? Why not that
Mhm,
food? Why? And
mhm.
all they have to say is, well, the research isn't there on raw food. The research, well, that's because Purina doesn't own the raw food and they don't have
Exactly.
billions of dollars to research the
Right,
raw food. We just have how many millions of years of raw feeding? How
exactly.
do you argue with that?
Right,
And
right.
I
And
don't know.
the evidence is with our pets, and the evidence of feeding fresh foods, the research is out there, at least for us. So we feed ourselves fresh foods and stop feeding all the processed stuff.
Yep.
You have a better outcome. So do our
Mhm.
pets,
Yep.
you know?
Yep.
So it's really important to look at everything from a holistic point of view, really, which is kind of how
Really.
we got started on this whole journey and stuff. And yeah,
Which is going to end up
and
being 3 episodes.
it is. I'm telling you, it might be more because I do. We wind up talking pretty much with everybody for about this length and sometimes a little bit longer. And I'm like, okay, because we have short attention spans, I have to do like 6 episodes. But it's great because in little segments we can get that little bit of information out there.
Mhm. Mhm.
But yeah, for sure. It's so important. But yeah. Well, on that note, Tony,
Yes.
let's tell people where they can find you.
Yeah. So, Toni Unleashed .com is my website.
Okay.
And all of my Instagram is Toni Unleashed. Actually, I think it's Toni dot Unleashed. My Facebook is Toni Unleashed. My email is Toni at Toni Unleashed.
Okay.
Um, I, I'm here for all of it.
Excellent. I'm
So
gonna link your stuff, follow
thank you.
you, you follow me back. We link, we can go back and forth networking. I really want to meet you. There's so many people I want to meet in person that I've interviewed at Global. So I'm gonna work my butt off to get to that next year. Get it on the books now. But yeah, this has been great. I really love talking to you. I appreciate your
Same.
taking all this time too and
Absolutely.
introducing us to Layla.
I think you should thank Layla because she has been so patient and now she's finally crashed out on the bed over there.
Thank you, Layla. Baby girl. She goes, I better get a couple Kongs out of this one. I don't know what you're talking about, but I need some Kong time here and an extra walk. Yeah. I love it.
All
All right,
right.
Tony.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
You're welcome. Absolutely. I had a lot of fun.